And welcome you all to this webinar on Introduction to Securities Market, which has been jointly held with SEBI, NSE and NSDL. And the prime objective of conducting this webinar is to spread the financial awareness among the new potential investors and the existing investors. So we'll try to discuss you about the recent developments that has happened in the securities market, the roles and responsibilities of SEBI as a regulator, and we'll try and discuss you about depository part later on. We have speakers from stock exchange also who will be giving you an idea about the trading part. So to introduce our today's speakers, we have our esteemed chief guest from SEBI, Mr. Anshuman Das. He is working in the Bhubaneswar local office of SEBI. I welcome you, sir, in this webinar, and thank you very much for giving us this valuable time and joining us in this webinar. Our next speaker is from NSC, Ms. Trina Ghosh. She is currently working in the NSC's Kolkata regional office. And myself, my name is Pushparaj, and currently I'm working in the NSDL Kolkata regional office. So at the end of the sessions, we will have question and answer. Definitely, if you have any queries relating to securities market, you can ask at the end of the session. So without any delay further, I would like to hand over to Mr. Anshuman Das, our speaker from SEBI, to take this forward. It's over to you, sir.
Thank you, Pushparaj. Thank you. I'll take this opportunity to welcome everybody, all the participants and the speakers here from NSC and NSDL. Mainly, the whole this webinar will be conducted by SEBI and along with the exchange and depositories. I'll give the keynote address and later on it will be taken up by the speakers from the exchange and depositories. Okay. There is a famous saying that goes that believing in yourself is the first secret of success. This is also applicable in securities market. For harnessing this belief, one has to continuously evolve in the realms of ever-changing market with the help of continuous education and awareness. Economic function of the securities market is to ensure that savings get channelized into the productive investment proposals, which leads to capital formation and economic growth. One of the main objectives of SEBI is to protect the interests of investors in securities. Investor education and awareness is key to investor protection. Complexities of the securities market have grown manifold during last 3 decades, with so many developments relating to market structure, newer products, to name a few. These developments represent the supply side of the market. On the demand side too, newer participants have entered the market. Also, the trends in participation of the retail investors are encouraging in terms of growth in number of demat accounts as also number of portfolios of mutual funds. There is a need for the new investors to make informed investment decisions. Thus, investor awareness and education play an important role in educating the investor. One should not get lured by false promises and by solicited advice. Financial literacy and financial stability are two key aspects of an efficient economy. Financial literacy enhances financial capability of an individual. In an emerging economy like India, financial literacy would enable participation of a large number of people in the financial system and consequently in the development process. Absence of financial literacy imposes a significant cost on the society as it is seen during the global financial crisis of 2008. In India, there are also certain wrong beliefs associated with financial literacy. The most common being the myth that one is educated or can read and write is financially literate. In reality, it may not be so. The cheat fund scam in Odisha and West Bengal in the last 10 years demonstrated that many rich and literate people lost their valuable savings to the Ponzi schemes due to utter lack of financial awareness and education. Role of SEBI. Securities and Exchange Board of India was formed under SEBI Act 1992 and has three key mandates: regulation of the securities market, promotion and development of securities market, and protection of interest of investors. SEBI regulates the functioning of stock exchanges, clearing corporations, depositories, listed companies, and various other intermediaries. In order to regulate these entities, SEBI has enacted various regulations, circulars, and guidelines. I like to bring to your notice that capital markets in India have been growing very rapidly. An important indicator of this growth has been the growth of AUM of the mutual fund industry in India. The AUM of the mutual fund industry was 5.6 lakhs crores in 2012, which now stands at more than 35 lakh crores. The two depositories, CDSL and NSDL, together have more than 6 crore demat accounts registered with them. Some of the steps taken by SEBI, which has led to this massive growth of capital markets in India, are dematerialization of securities, leading to complete paperless trading systems. This has made trading systems completely paperless. This has completely put a stop to the menace of fake scripts circulating in the market. Corporatization of the stock exchanges, which has led the exchanges being given by tenants of good corporate governance rather than by vested and entrenched interests. Technology-based trading systems enable small investors to have access to transparent pricing. Revamp of the payment systems and trade guarantee mechanisms by establishing of corporations which have brought in default fee system, thus enhancing the credibility of the market among the small investors. Introduction of derivatives to enable risk management, introduction of robust corporate governance companies, strong mechanisms, strong network within SEBI, and measures to spread investor awareness. In order to resolve investor complaints, has introduced course, that is SEBI Complaints Redress System, which is a complete online system for lodging of investor complaints, tracking them, and also for resolution of the same. Today, an investor can log into the score system from anywhere in the world and lodge complaints against listed companies or registered intermediaries. Keeping pace with the changing times, SEBI has also launched a Scores app by which complaints can be lodged and also tracked from an investor's mobile phone. While SEBI has taken a number of measures to protect the interest of the investors, the best protection to small investor is to get himself or herself acquainted with the extant products available in market, their behavior pattern, and their mode of functioning. SEBI has also empaneled resource persons to impart basic financial education for investors. Exchanges and depositories have been doing exemplary work in the area of financial literacy. I am sure that this program organized by them will be of excellent quality, and I urge you to make the most of it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thanks for your valuable input and giving us an brief about SEBI and as a regulator from the last uh, years what SEBI has done for the interest of the investors. Thank you very much for your valuable words. With this, we'll now move on to some of the technical aspect of depositories and trading. Firstly, I'll be covering on the depository part. So basically, as we all know that our Indian securities market is very very vibrant and it has started from a very long time. So the earlier physical trading and settlement process used to take place. So which caused to a lot of bad deliveries, delayed in transfer of shares, lost or theft of physical securities. So there were a lot of uncertainties at that point of time. So which later on in the year 1996, the term dematerialization took place, and after the amendment of the Depositories Act. So which paved to an establishment of depositories in India, in which NSDL as a depository was established in the year 1996. So thereon the operations for the dematerialization of securities happened. So this is how the the whole term of depository took place. So I'm just sharing my presentation, with you all. I hope this is visible to everyone. So my flow presentation will be like this. Number one, we will talk about the services that are offered by depositories. Second one, we'll talk about pledge. Third is the margin pledge and pledge repledge. Fourth one is the basic service demat account. Uh, Fifth one, that is the considered account statement. And the last one is investor grievance. So on after the what are actually is depositories, as we all know that it's a financial institution that is registered with SEBI and which facilitates you to hold your securities in the electronic form. Which functions I would like to say this is similar to a bank, where bank facilitates you to hold all your physical cash into electronic form. Similarly, here depositories also help you to hold all those securities, physical securities in the electronic form. Now, all the services, that are offered through a registered depository participant. So, the account that has to be opened is with the registered depository participant. So, once you open an account, and this account opening process is very simple nowadays. It has become very convenient for us after this online account opening process, the introduction of eKYC framework. So there have become a lot of ease for us to open an account and start our investment in the securities market. So after fulfilling all the KYC norms, like in the KYC part, you need to submit your proof of identity, proof of address, the bank account, this proof and all. So once you submit the same and fulfill all the KYC norms, then your account gets opened. So once the account get open with a registered depository participant, the services that you get is number one is dematerialization. So dematerialization is basically, the converting your physical certificate into electronic form. The process is very simple. You need to submit the demat request form along with your physical certificate to your registered depository participant. So once they confirm the same, they process it to the registrar or the transfer agent of the company or the issuer. So once they verify the same, so it confirms to the depository system and the share get registered to your demat account. So this is how the process of dematerialization take place. Second one is rematerialization. So rematerialization is just the vice versa. It's just the opposite of demat, wherein you convert into physical certificate from the electronic form. The transfer of securities. So just like in bank account, you can transfer your funds from one account to other. Here also in the demat account, you can transfer your securities from one demat account into other demat account. Change in beneficial ownership and the settlement of trades. So whatever settlement that have take place. So whatever trading that has taken place in the exchange platform, the settlement of same happens after the confirmation reaches to the clearing corporation or the clearing house from the depository side in the T+2 rolling settlement. So in the case of apart from this, there are other services also that has been provided to you. Some of being the transmission. Transmission is like when if you are holding the account in a single mode. In that case, in the event of death of one of the holders, in that case, the nomination is provided. The share get transferred in the name of nominee, and if the nomination is not provided, then the legal heir, the share will be transferred in the name of legal heir after the proper documentation process. So it is very easy and convenient nowadays. So all these services is provided through a registered depository participant. And yes, important is that the nomination part. Irrespective of the account you hold, kindly nominate in your respective account so that in the future of uncertainty, the share get transferred in the name of nominee mentioned in the account. The securities that are kept in the depositories in the demat form are 100% safe and secure. Now coming to the pledge. So pledge is a deposit of some personal property as a collateral for debt. So the word pledge itself, be termed as some of kind of a deposit and all. So here in the securities market, you can pledge your securities. On behalf of that, you can take a margin and to complete all your trading activities. So so the earlier what used to happen is like the share used to get transferred to the demat account of the broker. So broker in terms happened that there were a lot of misutilization of those securities, and so which later on in like this September 1st 2020, so effective SEBI has brought out with a new margin pledge rule wherein the securities that were there will lie in the demat account of the investor itself. So whatever corporate benefits is there, you will be getting the same. And as an investors, if you want to submit this margin pledge request, you can use our medium called Speedy. For NSDL, it is Speedy, and for CDSL, it is easiest. These are the two web portals through which you can do the confirmation for your margin pledge request. So these are the name of the account against whom the margin pledge is to be created in favor of. The name of the account is basically TM, that is Trading Member Client Securities Margin Pledge Account, or else TM, that is Trading Member / CM, that is Clearing Member Client Securities Margin Pledge Account. Now coming to basic service demat account. So basic service demat account is just like a regular demat account to facilitate the small investors. It was introduced in the year 2012. So where up to 50,000 there is no annual maintenance charge. So those who are new retail investors and tend to have hold a very low holding, they can operate this account where up to 50,000 there is no annual maintenance charge. And if your holding is from 50,000 to 2 lakh rupees, there is a nominal AMC of 100. And if your holding goes beyond 2 lakh, it will be treated as a regular demat account, and the respective AMC would be applicable to you. So whenever you are operating this account, you have to keep in mind the threshold that are mentioned in the BSD account. So across depositories, NSDL and CDSL, you can operate only one single BSD account. Now coming to consolidate account statement. So this we send to the investors every month. If you are doing your transactions regularly, then we send it on monthly basis, or else if you have not done any transactions, then it is been sent quarterly. So basically, it gives you an overview of all your, as your entire asset classes. You get all the investment that you have done, along with the date of transactions, along with the CAGR returns, so that you can track your investment more conveniently. You have a better understanding of your portfolio, and later on, you can make up your financial decisions, your financials, uh, you know. Decisions more efficiently. So we have a separate portal also where you can check in for all the details over there. The website name is www.nsdlcash.nsdl.com. So there are few do's and don'ts which I would like to highlight to the investors. Prior to doing your investment in the securities market, you should always check even if you are dealing with any intermediaries, you should primarily check whether the entity is SEBI registered or not. When you're dealing in mutual funds, you should check whether the that distributor is AMFI registered or not. And second one is that never invest on the basic of tips. So nowadays, it has become very convenient. Like everything is online, and like people are giving advices through various mediums and all. So never invest on basic of those advices or in by any means. So you should have your proper way of investment, proper understanding about a particular scripts that you're investing in, and do your investment accordingly. And the third one is that never sign any blank form, even if it's a KYC form or else any financial documents that you're signing in. Don't leave any spaces blank. Even if you think as that point is not relevant to you, you can simply strike off that point and write not applicable, but don't leave it as a blank. even the DIS form, delivery instruction slip. At the account opening process, you will be provided with the account this DIS form. So never leave those blank DIS and hand it over to your DP or a broker. So you should always mention the number of the quantity that you want to transfer, the ISIN number, the name of the ISIN. So all has to be properly filled up. Your signature should be there, and then only you should submit the same. Apart from that, you should change your password of your online account frequently so that the misutilization doesn't take place. Apart from that, you should always keep your mobile number and email ID updated in your account so that whatever transaction that you are doing in, you get the SMS or email alerts in your registered email ID and your mobile number. So these are the few do's and don'ts you should always follow while you associated or you're dealing in the securities market. Now coming to investor grievance, if you have any complaint against any broker or a DP, first and foremost you need to complain that a DP or a broker. And if your complaint isn't redressed within 5 to 7 days of the receipt of such complaint, then you have further options to raise your complaint in depository in NSDL and CDSL. You can write us. We have our email ID also, relations@nsdl.co.in. Then we have our website also where you can put all your queries and complaints. And further, you can raise your complaints in SEBI's official grievance portal, that is SCORS, which as sir has already briefly discussed you regarding the same, and which it is available in the mobile version also, so we can download it. So these are the toll-free numbers if you have general queries relating to the securities market. So you can dial in this number and you can ask all your queries that you have. So with this, I will end my presentation part, and I thank each one of you for listening to me patiently. So with this, we will move on to our next speaker. I request Ms. Trina Ghosh from NSC to take this session forward. Ms. Trina, are you there with us?
Mr. Chetri, should I be starting?
Yes, it's over to you.
I hope my presentation is visible.
Yes, it is visible.
Okay. Hello, everybody. This is Trina Ghosh. I'm working with NSE in the ISC department. ISC means Investor Service Cell. In this department, we deal with investors' complaint against any trading member regarding the trading account. As we all know, exchange deals with the trading part and depositories deals with the DP part, DMAT part. So for exchange grievance redressal, we have this department ISC. I work for this ISC department for more than 3 years now. And I'm working for Kolkata Regional Office. So today my presentation will be regarding the basic of trading that goes with the exchange platform. The flow of my presentation will be such: trading and demat account opening form, which is the basic if you want to trade, document required to open a trading and demat account, mode of placing orders, contract note, how to buy and sell trade, payment of margin, early pay-in, and grievance redressal. So I'll be going one by one with as detailed description as possible. If you have any query, please hold on for the end of the presentation, and we will definitely answer to that. So for opening a trading and demat account, you need these documents. Now, very basic information I just want to clear, since these are certain doubts which I get to hear from many clients, investors on a daily basis. So basically, a trading account is more like a bank account. Just giving you a very layman language example. Trading account is more like a bank account. So you are opening a bank account, and in that particular account you're doing all your daily transaction. Now in that particular account, if you want to invest anything, what you will do in bank account, you will go for FD or RD or something like that. So in case if you are trying to invest, what will you do? You will be investing in your name, and then somebody will be there as a nominee, so that in your place, if in future you are not there, whoever is there as your nominee, whoever is addressed as your nominee, can claim the particular invested amount or the matured amount of the invested amount. So like that, trading accounts is the bank account through which you can transact, you can buy and sell shares. And once after every purchase and sell, the settlement is done in T+2 basis. For that also I'll give you a description in my later slides. So for within T+2 basis, that share goes to demat account, which again can have a nominee. So that is basically the invested part, and trading account is basically the transaction part. So for opening a trading and demat account, you need to have two things: proof of identity, proof of address. For proof of identity, PAN is mandatory, and all the documents mentioned here, like voter ID card, driving license, passport, Aadhaar, and any central and state government issued identity card. And for address, again, all are mentioned. As mentioned, you can provide anything you want, but PAN is mandatory. So for opening a trading and demat account, you need to fill a form, which we commonly say it as KYC form, Know Your Customer form. So in that form, you will see there are n number of things. I mean, I know it is literally something which needs a lot of patience to go through entire everything, every clause, every point to go through it. But the entire reason of arranging these kind of regional program is to aware the investor, where we continuously speak out and literally request them to please go through each and every point. And in case you have any clarification or any doubt, anybody who is coming from the trading member's side, you should ask him or her for any clarification. You should not sign in any blank page in anywhere where you are not sure where you are signing. Somebody telling you कि आप sign कर दीजिए हम देख लेंगे. Please don't trust. Please go through the document and then sign. So the mandatory document are rights and obligation of stockbroker and investor, uniform risk disclosure document, do's and don'ts for trading on exchange, policies and procedures of stockbroker, and tariff sheet. Now the right and obligation, there are certain kind of rights and obligations when you are trading. Let me give an example. Like obligation, if I say there is a term called IBT, internet based trading. Now many a times it has happened, since with time and with advancement of technology, trading has grown a different level. Now you can even trade through an app. I mean, app like Grow, Paytm, and many more. Coin DCX बोल के भी एक नया आया है. So there are n number of apps. Those are coming right currently, through which you can place your orders, trade and sell. So when you are facing any issues while you are placing an order through app or the web portal, anything that has got to do with the internet or the technology or the portal, for any slightest thing, that is the investor's obligation. He or she needs to pick up on his or her shoulder, because it is quite obvious that if you're using any internet based portal, at times it might fall down. So that is a kind of obligation which we open up whenever an investor is trying to open an account, so that you can go through that clause and then only sign. If you feel that I'm not okay with that, please don't sign. It's up to you. Please don't open an account. So for that only, we always say that please go through the clauses, because these kind of obligations and rights are very much mentioned in that particular form. Risk disclosure documents, again, when you keep on trading, you will get to know there are certain risk disclosure documents to monitor the risk management. There are certain kind of actions which exchange and SEBI collaboratively has written in the form of policy and clauses, so that that can be abide by the investor and the trading member both. Do's and don'ts, policies and procedures. Tariff sheet, very important. Tariff sheet is basically the brokerage that a particular investor is agreeing upon while opening an account. Now, there are certain barriers and limitations which are been set by SEBI on different field. Like for physical delivery, it's different. For something else, it is different. So there are certain barriers which has been set by SEBI. But for different trading member, they set a different kind of a tariff or brokerage percentage for their own business policy. So what is set with you is something you will only decide. Obviously, that should not cross the limitation set by SEBI. But then again, it's a very important thing, because this is something that will get deducted with the profit you're earning while trading or selling any kind of script. Voluntary document, running account authorization. Now this has become a very crucial thing nowadays. SEBI is definitely monitoring on it. Power of attorney, again, it's a very important thing. Power of attorney is basically if you go out of your home and you give your key, house key, to somebody in your neighbor or anybody in your family whom you trust. Now that person you are trusting can be trustworthy, cannot be also. So you have to be very sure while giving the authorization of power of attorney to anybody. ECN declaration, I'll be coming to it later in my slides. Consent for electronic communication and receiving alerts. Now, if you are giving the consent that you are okay to deal with electronic communication, by this I mean any sort of intimation and information receiving through email or message. Now, I have received certain kind of complaint from certain senior people who are not that tech savvy. They have never used computer. They are not at all regular about email. Now, while they have opened the account, they have not monitored, and they have given the permission to take intimation through email. So in that case, if any investor is not getting an information, just because he has given the intimation that he can get the information through email, technically it is not the fault of the trading member, because you have given the authorization key, you can get it through email. But then since you don't use it and somebody else is providing that through email, that is something you should be careful of. So before giving the consent for electronic communication, please be 100% sure whether you are regularly checking your emails or not. So mode of placing orders, you can physically visit the broker's office and place the orders. Now, this is not a very convenient way nowadays, because things has changed and developed and grown. It has grown to next level now. So anybody who is going physically to the office and placing the order, this was very regular previously. But then again, if you want to do that, you can definitely do. Trade via phone call, again, this is also a very regular practice. Anybody who is not technologically that much sound can do that. In that case, what happens, an RM is allotted for the particular investor, and the investor will call the RM time to time before placing any order, and vice versa. I mean, if the investor is suggesting any sell or purchase to the investor, if the RM is suggesting any sell or purchase to the investor, in that case, he will also call the investor, and then accordingly, you guys can trade. But then there are two norms. Somebody who is giving you a call, the call should come, or you should call the RM from the registered trading member phone number, because those calls are recorded and used as a document purpose in case in future you are facing any problem. You should not call to any RM's personal mobile number, and please don't chat and decide, chat over WhatsApp or message and decide what trade to do and what not to. So this is advised to call in the registered residential phone number only. And secondly, any RM giving you any suggestion regarding placing any order, please be doubly sure whether you want to do it or somebody else is influencing you to do that. Because again, in that case, if he is giving you any advice or suggestion and then you are saying yes, and next you are saying Aski, I have not given the suggestion, he suggested me, that's why I got I thought of giving placing the order, we are not going to buy that, because you have placed the order in full consent. Thirdly, through an email or to stockbroker, obviously you can email the stockbroker, but then again, time within a fraction of second, the order place, the script you are consent to buy, so that price goes up and down. So emailing a person, the person will see the email, then he will execute. It's again a different kind of a ball game. But then if you want to, if you are, if you are comfortable in that, definitely way to do that. Generally, who are regular and very much into it, they always prefer this. Fifth, the broker's mobile app. Again, this is a new convenient way of doing it. I have seen people using this for people who are generally not that regular but want to be here. They prefer this. Specifically new people, new students and young people uses this nowadays a lot. So yeah, these are more convenient, I feel. It's my advice. Nothing against anybody choosing other way of placing order. Contract note. Now, contract note is basically the receipt you get while you buy something from any store. So when you buy something from any store, the product, quantity, price, the date on which you have purchased, everything is mentioned in the contract note. In the receipt. But contract note is exactly the same. It is the record of any transaction, confirmation of trade done. In case of discrepancy, contact your broker immediately. Now, contract note can be both physical and e-contract note. If you opt for email communication, in that case, the contract note will come to you after every sell and purchase. And if you opt for physical delivery, in that case, it will come to your residential permanent address. As long as it takes to courier. So what are the information that is mentioned in the contract note? As I've already mentioned, the detail of the transaction, date, time, price, quantity, related information, even everything. For date and time, it is so crisp that it will even mention the microseconds. So, and the platform you're selling and buying, everything is mentioned there. How to receive a contract note within 24 hours from the date of trade execution. E-contract note sent to registered email ID, can opt for physical contract note, quarterly settlement of funds and securities. Now, this is a new one again. According to SEBI, quarterly settlement has become mandatory after every 3 months. If you have sold any holding, the amount will go directly to your linked bank account. And if you want to, if you have purchased any share, in that case, the share will go directly to your Demat account. After every 3 months, it has become mandatory now. How to settle, buy and sell share. Now, for cash segment, on or before T+2. Now this T+2 is basically today plus 2 working days. So if you are buying any share today, so technically it will be T is today. Then for 2 working day, it will be Friday and Monday. So by Tuesday, it should be, by Monday end, it should be there in your डीमैट अकाउंट. बट पकड़ लो अगर बीच में कहीं पे भी कोई वेकेशन, any holiday comes in between, like this Diwali, we had two back-to-back 2 days trading holiday. Again on 19th, we have another trading holiday. So for that case, it will be again that you have to leave that day in between. So any settlement for cash segment, it should be T plus 2 working day. That will leave the holiday and the Saturday, Sundays. For derivative segment, on or before T plus 1 working day. Very important information, only check NEFT RTGS to stockbroker only. For paying a fund, if you need to pay in, please go for check NEFT and RTGS. It is more advised to go for RTGS and NEFT because it's instant for certain low amounts. For certain high amounts also, it is more convenient. For check, again, it will get liquidated, then it will show to your account. It is better to advise. So cash dealing is strictly prohibited. Please don't do that. Payout of funds, fund and shares to be received in investors' demat account within 24 hours of payout days. Payment of margin. Payment of margin, margin to be placed with broker before placing orders. Cash segment, securities, cash payment and securities. Now, what is margin? Again, let me explain you in a very layman language. Suppose you get a credit card, you want to hold a credit card. So when you are holding a credit card, generally what happens, one savings account will be linked with your credit card, because in case if you are not paying the amount, they will directly reduce or deduct that amount from your savings account. Generally it happens for, in case if you are taking a credit account from the same bank where you have a savings account. So technically for taking the credit card, you are keeping the savings account as a margin for the credit card. Like if you are not paying the amount by the end of the rolling month, then that amount will be deducted straight away from your savings account. So like that, margin is also like that. In cases in share, there are certain kind of segments trading where margin is mandatory, again because those are volatile shares, and keeping margin is important. Otherwise the entire liability comes to the shoulder of trading member, which they will not take, because margin shortfall penalty is a huge amount which exchange levy on the investor, and in case the investor is not paying, it goes directly to the trading member. So for margin, it is important to pledge or unpledged share. Now, what margin through securities formed by pledging, I mean, there can be two ways. Either you can provide margin through cash or through securities. Again, let me explain you. There are kind of shares which has got margin varying from 10% to 100%. Now that margin statement is generated through NSE in our and it is updated in our portal every day. On a daily basis it is updated. So investors who wants to trade in this particular segment, they can directly go download that bar margin statement. They can put the ISIN of that particular script, search, and they will get to see that that particular ISIN needs to maintain how much percentage of margin. Now again, please keep this in mind, that VAR margin, which is levied by exchange, is over and above the ad hoc margin of the trading member. So for maintaining the margin, suppose a particular share is 100 rupees and you need to provide a margin of 20%, which means if you want to buy one script of that particular share, you need to keep 120 rupees as margin. In particular, in certain amount of shares, there are even margin requirement for selling the share. So these are the kind of thing which happens for margin trading. Early paying, investor to pay fund and deliver share to the exchange by paying time on settlement date. Now again, this is a kind of system where it's like if you pay the credit card bill before the settlement date, then it is called early paying. Obviously that no interest will be charged. But if you are paying after the cycling time, then obviously interest will be levied. So it's like that. If you are paying the margin before on an early paying basis, obviously no penalty will be levied. But if you are paying later, in that case, I'm not sure, but it is, I think, 1% on the margin shortfall per day. Again, I'm not sure. I have to see and quote it. But it is, as far as my knowledge says, last time when I have checked, it was 1% of the margin shortfall per day. So when investor pays funds or delivery shares before his designated time, it is called early paying. What are the exemption? No margin needs to be paid, and no margin needs to be paid stockbroker to provide early paying details to the stock exchange in a specified format. Grievance redressal: if investor has dispute with his stockbroker, immediately question the stockbroker about any transaction that you do not understand or you did not authorize your trading member. It is always recommended that you face any problem, please go and speak up to your trading member. In case they are not responding, you should be writing an email to the trading member and retain the copies of all related correspondence done with the trading member. And thirdly, if they are not redressing, then please come and file a complaint with us. You can directly file a complaint in NSE, visiting the website NSE India, or you can go and file complaint in SEBI. There is a platform called Scores. Through them, it comes to us only. So complaint at exchange can be filed by investor through online portal. As I told you, nseindia.com is the website name. There you can file an online complaint. You can email us. Our email ID is nscole@nsc.co.in. Physical letter at any investor service center. We have n number of investor service center pan India. We have 5 regional offices: Kolkata, Ahmedabad, Bombay, Chennai, and Delhi. Sorry for the pause. I forgot. So, there are 5 regional offices: Kolkata, Ahmedabad, Bombay, Chennai, and Delhi. So, in these are the regional offices, and each region has got 5 to 7 sub offices, small offices, which are set only for investor. So you can go and physically take. You can take a physical form, write it down, and provide it to them. Complaint can be filed by investor at the nearest ISC center. In case any investor is agreed by resolution worked out at end of stock exchange, the matter gets referred to IGRP. Now, we as an ISC officer, we always try to resolve the case all by ourselves by taking documents from trading member and all. But in that case, if we cannot resolve it, we place it to IGRP. That's a grievance redressal panel, where we place it so that you can get a better resolution. And if it is not redressed there, then we place it to one level higher, that is arbitration. In case you are not happy with any of the result, you can go higher levels as well. Thank you so much. Thanks for the patience.
Thank you, Madam, for your giving us in various aspects of trading and various your do's and don'ts that as an investor you should follow while you trade in this securities market. So with this, we come to an end of our today's presentation session. So I hope this was quite insightful to all of us. So with this, we'll move on to the question and answer. And if any participant, if you wish to ask any question relating to the securities market, you can unmute yourself and you can ask. Any questions that you have, you may ask.
Okay, I have a question. I mean, not me. I think a question is addressed to me, which is Mr. Sahu. Sorry, I cannot read your name. So, yeah, the question is, what are the charges for a trade? In contract note, there is no consolidation of charges. The charges are not understood. So, Mr. Sahu, as I told you, in the KYC form itself, there is something called tariff sheet. Now, in contract note, you will not see any charges. Okay, it will be levied as per the tariff sheet is you have agreed upon the tariff sheet. Now, if you feel it is not as per the tariff sheet, then you must be having a copy of the KYC. Please go and check what is the agreed rate and what they have levied in your account. I hope that is clear.
Yeah, thank you very much. Anyone, if you have any questions related to the securities market, you may please ask.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I hope there is no further questions. So with this, I would like to end today's webinar. I want to thank each one of you for your esteemed participation in this webinar. Going forward also, there will be a lot of topics which will be covering on. You can visit our NSDL website and register for the same. I would like to thank our today's eminent speakers from SEBI, Mr. Anshuman Das and Ms. Trina Ghosh from NSC for joining us in this webinar. And again, once again, thank you everyone and happy investing.
Thank you, Pushparaj. Thank you, Tina. Thank you, Anshuman.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Pushparaj.